My daughter is now starting to crawl, which is great, but it means that she's now actively trying to find new things to put in her mouth. Most things can be picked up off the floor, but not everything. Dog food is one that she's taken a keen interest in, so I need a way to keep her away from the dog food while allowing the dog to access it. I could think of 2 traits that I could use to discriminate between the 2 floor dwellers: how high they can jump and their size. I could build a platform for the dog food that the dog could jump onto, or I could build a wall with an opening that only allows the dog to go through. My dog only weighs about 7 pounds, which is less than my daughter weighed at birth, and humans come with bigger heads than dogs do, so it shouldn't be hard to find a door size that the dog could fit through comfortably, but without letting my daughter through. As you can likely tell by now, I went with the wall idea. It'll be simpler to build, easier for the dog to use, and take up less room in my house. I'm using a piece of 3/4 inch thick MDF because it's cheap and it's what I had lying around. The sheet was cut to size and castellations were cut into the top for added defense. To cut the castellations, I'm using an adjustable dado blade, aka a wobble blade. I would prefer to use a true dado set, since they make cleaner, more accurate cuts, but I could find one of these for $10 used, which is 1/10 the cost of even a used dado set, so it'll do. To save time, I adjusted the width and spacing to allow the cuts to be symmetric. This reduced the number of fence adjustments I had to do by half. I was hoping to cut the castellation square, 2 inches by 2 inches, but the dado blade would only cut about 1.5 inches deep, so I went with it. Here's a closer look at the dado blade. By rotating this hub, you increase the amount of wobble, and therefore the width of the cut. The markings give a rough idea of the cut width, but if accuracy beyond a 32nd of an inch is required, you'll have to guess and check. I settled on a 5-inch wide by 12-inch tall door and began to cut it out. Very slowly. And about 2 hours later, I had a rough opening. I wanted to round all the edges, so I set up the router table with a 1/4 inch radius bit and checked the depth with a piece of scrap. I'm looking for the cutter to just barely leave a witness line at the bottom of the curve. Since neither the workpiece nor my router table are perfectly flat, the line won't be present on most of the edges, and where it does show up, it will be sanded off with finish sanding. Using another piece of scrap MDF, I cut a 12-inch square and then split it down the middle diagonally to make 2 gussets. These will be used to hold up the wall and brace it against intruders. The corner of the bottom gusset was cut off to clear the door, and the outer edges were rounded off. I marked the position of the gussets and pre-drilled holes to fasten them. I found an old bottle of glue that was nearly empty, so I thought I'd use it up. It's quite thick. Seems to be stuck at the bottom. Maybe if I shake it wildly off screen, that'll help. Well, there's something, but now it seems plugged. How about a knife to scrape off the dry glue? There we go. And another shake for good measure. Nope. Ah, it's dried on the inside. Now we should be good. Or not. I know what'll fix it. So once I got enough glue on from a new bottle, I spread it out and screwed everything together. Apparently, impact drivers and cameras don't work well on the same table. The screw heads were filled with wood fill to recover the smooth front face of the wall. I find it works best to press the fill into the hole first to ensure it forms a good bond with no voids. Then I finish filling the hole just proud of the surface. Once the fill was dry and sanded flush, it was ready for paint. I used a mixture of paint that I had left over from painting my house and a couple cans of spray paint. I was going for an uneven textured look and found that applying layers of patchy paint and going over them with a roller, just as it was starting to get tacky, did the trick. And what's a castle wall without hand-hewn stones? I drew this in a CAD program and cut it out on a decal plotter. Alternatively, you could buy a pack of sticker paper from your local office supply store and cut out each brick by hand with scissors. The edges and spacing wouldn't be exact, but that's actually what we're going for. Randomness and variation adds to the realism. Once the backing sheet is removed, the decal can be applied to the surface and pressed on securely. The pre-masking tape is pulled off very slowly and meticulously. The decal doesn't stick very well to a rough textured surface. It's meant to stick to smooth bare metal or glossy clear coat of a vehicle. Even a time lapse of this was boring, so I'll skip to the end. Pretty ugly, right? Good thing this is only a stencil. The decal is masking the areas that I don't want to paint and leaving the area that I do want to paint exposed. This area will be the grouting between the bricks. Final dusting and blending completes the look, and it's ready for installation. Let's hope the dog likes it. The wall is attached to the black shelving unit next to it with double-sided foam tape, so it can't be tipped over by children, but it can easily be stepped over by an adult. And thus establishes the Kingdom of Dog, safe from the sticky fingers of tiny humans. I hope you enjoyed this build. Please subscribe if you want to see more.